All right, let's get right into it. We are tackling a huge question for pretty much anyone running a business in the UK today. Should you be a limited company? With all the tax rules changing all the time, the answer for 2025/26, well, it might not be what you think. Now, to make sure we're getting the real story, this whole discussion has been arranged by the experts at ProTax Accountant. These guys are in the trenches with businesses every single day, so they know exactly how these decisions play out in the real world. So here it is, the big one. Is a limited company the right move for you? And look, this goes way beyond just trying to trim your tax bill. This is a fundamental choice about your personal risk, your future, and how you want to grow. So we're going to break it all down, the good, the bad, and the stuff that can really trip you up. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the main reason most people even think about incorporating. It's that magic word right in the name, limited. But what does that protection really get you? This right here is the absolute cornerstone, limited liability. Think of it as a legal firewall between your business life and your personal life. If the business gets into serious debt or worst-case scenario fails, creditors can only go after the company's assets. Your house, your car, your savings, all of that is shielded. It's kept safe. It's a massive deal, and a quick story makes it crystal clear. And here's where it becomes real. ProTax Accountant shared this case study about an events business that was, completely hammered by the pandemic. They couldn't pay their suppliers. But because they were set up as a limited company, the owner's personal home was never on the line. Had they been a sole trader, they could have lost literally everything. That is the power of this structure. All right, let's pivot to the topic everybody wants to know about, tax. For years, the conventional wisdom was simple. Go limited, save a ton on tax. But, well, the tax landscape in 2025/26 is a whole different ballgame. So here's the bottom line. Yes, tax savings are still possible, but that huge, yawning gap that used to exist between being a sole trader and a limited company, it's really, really narrowed. A combination of new tax rates and frozen allowances means it's just not a slam dunk anymore. You got to do the math carefully. So first, let's look at what the company pays. Corporation tax isn't just one flat rate anymore. If you're making profits up to £50,000, you're paying a pretty reasonable 19%. But once you go over $250,000, that jumps up to 25%. And that messy bit in the middle, that's a tapering system, so the rate gradually climbs. Now, what about the money you take out for yourself? This is huge. The tax-free dividend allowance, which used to be a major benefit of being a director, has been absolutely slashed down to just £500. 500! That's a massive change, and it means basically every pound you pay yourself in dividends is now subject to tax.
And then you've got your own personal tax bands on top of all that. The really sneaky thing here is that the personal allowance, that £12,570 you can earn tax-free, has been frozen for years. It's not keeping up with inflation. This causes something called fiscal drag, where even a small pay rise can push you into a higher tax bracket, eating away at any savings you thought you were making.
Oh, and if you're a company director living up in Scotland, you need to pay very close attention. Scotland has its own, more complex tax system with 6 different rates, and the higher rate of tax kicks in at a much lower income level. This is a classic trap people fall into, and it can lead to a really unwelcome bill from HMRC. Okay, so we've got liability, we've got tax, but what about just running the thing? This is where we hit what a lot of people see as the biggest drawback of a limited company, the admin, the sheer volume of paperwork. Look, as a sole trader, it's pretty straightforward, right? You do one tax return a year, and you're done. Once you go limited, you're suddenly in a whole new world. You've got annual accounts, a separate corporation's tax return, you have to keep official company records, run a payroll. It is a major step up in complexity, believe me. And if you get it wrong, it costs you. ProTax Accountant told us about a client who ended up with over £2,000 in fines just for filing things late. That one mistake wiped out their entire tax saving for the whole year. This paper trail really does have teeth. But it's not all doom and gloom and paperwork, I promise. We've been focused on the here and now, but let's zoom out. Let's talk about the long game, because this is where a limited company can be an incredibly powerful tool. This is the strategic stuff. You can leave profits in the company to reinvest in growth, and they're only taxed at that lower corporation tax rate. You can make pension contributions directly from the business, which is super tax efficient.
And if you're thinking about selling the business one day, there are special reliefs that can slash your tax bill. And let's be honest, having limited or LTD after your company name just looks more serious to banks, clients, and suppliers. It adds a level of credibility. Right. We have been through a lot. The protection, the complicated taxes, the annoying admin, and the long-term strategic wins. So how on earth do you put it all together and figure out what to do? Well, this pretty much sums it up. If your profits are consistently over, say, 50 grand, or if you're in an industry with some risk and you need that asset protection, a limited company is probably the way to go. Same if you want to reinvest for growth. But if your profits are still modest, if you just want the simplest life possible, or if you need to draw out every penny you make to live on, then staying as a sole trader might actually be the smarter move for now. See, in the end, there's no single best answer. The only question that matters is, what's the best structure for my business at this stage? It's a personal calculation. If you want help running your own numbers and figuring that out, then you should absolutely talk to the experts at ProTax Accountant. They can give you advice that's tailored specifically for you.